On today's show, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving get their first win as a duo together. How'd they do it? And how concerned are we about that defense? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and letting it ride. Even beating the Spurs, you only get to let it ride so many times a year. So we're letting it ride today. Thanks for being part of the show. Make it Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day and every post game. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know what's one reason why the Mavs beat the Spurs in this game. There's a whole bunch of reasons. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online. Available to people worldwide, and they have a special offer for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com. The duo dude, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Are you saying like duo or like do as in condensation? Did you grab a mop?
The duo dude.
Can you stop taking pictures of the court and actually get out there with a mop and make it? Come on.
I had an extra jacket. I should have just used it as another mop. Oh, we did have another delay, but today's episode will break down why the Mavs got to win. How concerned are we about the defense? And Isaac Harris.
Uh-oh.
It's the holiday season. The holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin is the best brother. No, I don't know. I got nothing else.
Not true.
The threes he dropped. No, I just got nothing else. Yeah, Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Spurs. Coming out of the All-Star break, you want your team to come out and like, all right, this is it. A lot of people say even this is when the real season starts, even though it's only 20 more games left in the season. But like everybody
could define the season.
Each team knows what they are pretty much at this point, except for maybe the Lakers. Everybody knows what they are at this point. And now you're like, okay, let's try and see what it looks like. Mavs are still missing Maxey. Maxey didn't play in this game, but you got Luka and Kyrie, and you get a taste against a bad team, but you get a taste of what that can look like.
Listen, if there's one team that you could pick across the league to say, I want to play that team coming out of the break at home, it's San Antonio. It's the team that's lost 14 games in a row before this game. And, you gave them their 15th loss. So you needed this. This is why we said a few days ago, it's like, listen, beginning of a 6-game homestand, like, let's do this thing. Let's start this thing off strong. Let's, put away the Spurs. Should be an easier win. Get the first win under your belt, with Kyrie and Luka.
So let's start with the good, because I think there was some bad. I think the defense is definitely bad, and I would like to talk about it. But let's start with the good. I mean, Luka looked great. Went to the free throw line 12 times, 10 assists. It was kicking it all over the place. Him and Kyrie, you can just tell that there are moments in the game where, all right, Luka takes over. All right, Kyrie takes over. Beginning of the fourth quarter, Kyrie takes over, which is just gone are the days of us just going, should they put Luka in before, like early? Should they just like, remember when Kid was experimenting with starting Luka in fourth quarters at times this year and just playing him like the entire second half? And like, this is why you go get Kyrie. This is why you go get another star, and why we've been asking for another star for years. And like, Brunson, Dinwiddie, they did their best, but like, this is different. Like the things Kyrie is doing on a court, like he scores and nobody else can stop him in any way. He was doing stuff tonight that was making Luka laugh. Like Luka doesn't laugh at many other people's like baskets that they make. He laughs at his own, like the backwards half court shot he hit at All-Star. But like Luka's laughing, like outright on the court laughing at things Kyrie was doing tonight because they're just absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I think gone are the days that you're going to the bathroom or getting food when Luka checks out of the game, right? Like you're saving that for the end of quarters, because now it's just as exciting is when Luka's out there. You know, like Kyrie is such a fun, entertaining player to watch play on the basketball court. That's like, all right, you know, Luka sets down the rest. Kyrie's out there. It's like, what's Kyrie going to do? Going to, you know, pick up the tempo. He's going to find the guy. He's going to have some crazy shots. And it's like, oh, Kyrie's out of the game. Oh, well, we have our MVP guy and Luka. Luka's going to do his thing. So, I mean, what a 1-2 punch. We've talked about the duo forever, and I do want to watch the
It's
duo.
been like 3 weeks.
Yes, there you go. 3 weeks. It's forever. Now, reminder: this was a Spurs team that started, you know, Keita Bates-Diop, Zach Collins, Malachi Branham, Devontae Graham, Keldon Johnson. You know, you see that and you're like, all right, cool. You should beat them by 20. But still, I mean, they're one of the best duos in the league, and scoring wise, they're gonna be able to match scoring wise with any duo.
I mean, I saw people, the starting lineup was tweeted before the game. I quote tweeted and said, this is unofficially a must-win game. Because looking at that starting lineup for the Spurs, saying, all right, you got to get this win because it's too stacked in the West right now. And it's too close for you to just give away games where Malachi Branham and Keita Bates-Diop and Zach Collins are starting for another team, right? And so there was even people that responded like, this is a trap game. It's a trap game for the Mavs. It's different now, right? Like I think this game didn't prove that, but I think you can see from like the Minnesota game where Kyrie took over, the Clippers game, like a couple of these games where the Mavs would normally just like falter and just like fall or you know succumb to the trap of it, like you know go full Admiral Akbar and go for the trap, but they didn't, and they don't because now Kyrie can carry over those moments where Luka is off the court. It's darn near refreshing, Isaac Harris. it's like it's right there.
Well, yeah, well, that's why. I mean, I wrote down. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk more about this game on the pod, not to discredit the rest of the podcast, but it was. Yeah, I wrote down my first note on my notes was there's not a ton to learn from this game. You just got to win. Like for me, it's like I'm not sitting there having these like bigger takeaways of look at this combo or look at this. I mean, because. I mean, it's literally like the worst roster in the league. So it's hard to, you know, you're not walking away from it with some like sweeping new thing. Now we can talk about Justin Holiday and like some fits and stuff and some rotation stuff, but you took care of business. This is what good teams do. When you play the Spurs with, you know, 23 games left in the season, they've lost 14 straight. You beat them at 20. So here we go.
You took care of business. And this is a team that like the Mavericks can score. They're just going to be a great offense. It's just the way it's going to be. Like watching them like create the amount of open shots. Like we'll talk about Justin Holiday, like you said, but he even mentioned like I'm going to get open shots here. Luka even mentioned in his post game that you know with Kyrie now we're creating even more open shots. He answered a question that Brad asked him about catch and shoot threes. Luka took a couple catch and shoot threes. He even passed up a couple of catch and shoot threes in this game where he was just wide open. And he said, with Kyrie, we're getting even more open shots. Imagine a Mavericks team where they create even more wide open shots. And if you just looked at the box score, you say, oh, the Mavs shot 52% from three. Is this offense real? Like it is because they're creating such good looks from three, like, even more so that like those are high quality looks.
Imagine a free agent. You know, we've talked about it.
Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday was a free agent that the Mavericks just brought in.
Like Justin Holiday turning into a legit, you know, 3-point shooter, hitting, you know, multiple threes a game off the bench for this team as they make like a, you know, a playoff run. I mean, that's, you know, a huge selling point to any, you know, shooter out there in free agency this summer is like, oh, do you want to come shoot shots with Luka and Kyrie?
I do. I would like that very much. Coming up, I got to bring us back down to earth, though. We talked about the positives.
Hey, I just listed off the Spurs starting lineup.
I know. And so I've got some concerns. We'll talk about those concerns, and then we'll talk about the role players coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetterHelp. When you're at your best, you can do great things, but sometimes life gets you bogged down. You may feel overwhelmed, feel like you're not showing up in the way that you want to. I feel like this. I've gone to therapy. I've used BetterHelp when, you know, sometimes I feel like my problems are like small compared to other people's. And I'm like, well, I have no reason to go to therapy, right? Like, you know, I have my dream job, basically. Like I have a great wife. I have, you know, a good life, family that loves me, you know, all those things that you count your blessings, but there's still things that you want to talk out, whether you have lots, you have trauma to unpack that you need to, or if you're like me and you're like, things are going well, but there's still things that I struggle with and I have a hard time with, and I need to talk out. Working with a therapist can help you get closer to the better version of you. So if you want to live in a more empowered life, therapy can help you get there. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, Isaac Harris, thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day and every post game. We are here for you 5 days a week. Let me bring us back down to earth here. We talked about the positives. Good win after the All-Star break. Luka and Kyrie doing well. This defense is bad. It's very bad. Through this game,
is it that bad?
They turned it on, I thought, in like the second, like the fourth quarter maybe. But they just like explode. The offense exploded, and then it turned into a lot of garbage. Like there's like 6 minutes of garbage time in this game, so you don't take too much from the fourth quarter. But like at halftime, the Spurs had like 119 offensive rating, which is the Spurs have the second worst offense in the NBA. So watching them try and defend and their rotations and try and figure out, okay, who goes there. Now they're introducing new players. Kyrie's still new. Justin Holiday's playing his first game, but I'm concerned about the bigs rotation with Dwight and Christian Wood. I'm concerned about.
Oh, really?
I'm concerned about Luka. I'm concerned about a couple of things with this defense. Now it's gonna take some time, but I don't know if they have enough time. Watching what I saw tonight, I don't know if they have enough time to figure out how to play a really good defense. I'm just trying to imagine Kevin Durant and Devin Booker or Kawhi playing against this defense right now.
Well, I mean, I don't even know if it's like time. I mean, it could just be like a roster thing,
That it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Maxi's going to help. I mean, we've talked about it the past 2 days, taking questions from a lot of listeners, and some iterations of that we've answered multiple times about Maxi coming back. Is that going to change a ton of things? I think it will change a decent amount, especially at the end of games. But I mean, they had 66 points in the paint tonight.
The Spurs did. The Spurs have the worst offense in the NBA.
Yeah, and once again, that's not just a hey Dwight Christian Wood type thing. That's your perimeter defenders getting blown past.
But it is though. Like it is those guys, but it's
a part of it. Yeah. but I just don't want them to get all the blame, because a lot of it goes to the perimeter defense too, getting blown past, and these guys are scoring in the paint too. So transition defense, I mean, I wrote that down as a note. I mean, there were a few times that Luka and Christian Wood, there was one transition. It's like, I don't even know if they moved. Like it was, they were both just like stuck in like quicksand, and they just like zoomed past them. So it's tough. I mean, they're, no one comes to these games to watch 80 to 80. And
Jason Kidd was not lying. Like
here's my theory.
I don't know.
The
truth.
He did tell the truth on that one though.
My theory, always looking for positives over here. They're rope-a-doping everybody.
They're going to come out. They're going to be this elite defense in the playoffs.
You just wait. Playoffs start. They're going to lock them down. First round opponent's going to average like 94 points per game.
Now, I have in the past.
I'm just kidding. Don't.
Clip that. Intern, clip that. I have in the past talked about this Mavericks defense, and it is a lot about effort. I don't think the Mavericks are going to come out here and play their optimal best effort against this Spurs team, or right out of All-Star break and all that. I had hoped that maybe they would clamp down a little bit and just show us the potential of this, especially against a bad team. Like, hey, we can take care of business early. I don't think they took care of business early. It was fourth quarter, then they turned it into a blowout. Kyrie went nuts offensively, was kicking it around, was really making things happen, and that's how they got. That's how they made 10 threes in the fourth. But that's how they
just made 10 threes in the game. They average around 112 a game. They put up 116 as far as the Spurs. So it's Spurs, like you let the Spurs score over their average, and they're 24th in the league in points per every game. So they already suck on offense.
So I think the defense, it's not as bad as it looked in this game, at least to me, because there's just times when I'm like, well, there's to be a pick and roll and like Christian Wood gets lost. There'll be as soon as Josh Green gets screened, like it's done. The play is over.
See, I think it almost looks just as bad against a game like this because the opponent sucks so bad. And it's like, all right, cool. We just watched, Blake Wesley get to the basket again compared to giving up like 120 to the Lakers on Sunday. And it's like, all right, well, at least it's 80 and LeBron.
At least their defense is equally bad against everybody. The thing that I thought that they really struggled in this game was against big athletic wings. Like Katie Bates-Diop getting to the rim, Keldon Johnson getting to the rim, like you said, Blake Wesley a couple of times. But like these big physical wings, they're going to struggle because who are their perimeter defenders? Josh Green, who's 6'5", he's fast, but he's not your big wing. He's not going to go after he's not supposed to guard the LeBrons, the KDs, those kind of guys. Kid joked about Justin Holiday and Reggie Bullock being like the two skinny guys, like trying to see who's skinnier on the team. And those guys are slight as well. So you just don't have anybody. I mean, even Dorian wasn't like a big wing like that. He was taller than these guys, but like you just didn't have that.
He could hold his own though against those guys.
Yeah, you just don't. But you don't have him anymore. You don't have that stout defender against some of these guys, which is why I kind of hoped maybe we'd see some Markieff Morris a little bit here and there, just to have at least one guy that can be stout against some of these athletes.
Maybe that's the rope-a-dope. Maybe they're just saving him.
Yeah, they're saving him.
Yeah, what this tells me a little bit is, I feel like Maxey. They're going to try to lean on Maxey to be that guy,
I think he is.
I think we might see some double big lineups of Maxey and Dwight at times, and see one of Reggie and or Josh on the bench. And if it's a guy, we did ideal playoff matchups on yesterday's pod, and we were talking about different matchups and stuff in the West, and going up against like a KD or Kawhi or even like a Brandon Ingram or a Zion. Like Reggie and Josh are just too small for that, so you almost have to have like Maxey take on that assignment. And then if you do that, then if you're playing the Suns, then you got to have Dwight in there to bang with DeAndre Ayton. So I don't know, we'll see.
Tonight was also, I know we talk about Christian Wood a lot on this show. This is the first time I saw Luka and Tim Hardaway Jr. and like players on the court respond to his defense negatively and like get frustrated. And you saw that play where like Luka's taking the inbounds and Christian Wood's inbounding it to him, and he throws it, and there's a spur play right there, and he didn't communicate like that. Luka got frustrated at him and was like yelling at him, walking to the bench and like doing the. Have you seen that show Invincible? It's a cartoon about the superhero family, and like the dad is J.K. Simmons, and he's like, he's like, use your brain, like you got to think about it. Like Luka basically did that to Christian Wood, and that was not about that specific play necessarily. I felt like it was a culmination of some of the defensive stuff, and I'm just monitoring it. I'm doing body language doctor. I'm just watching it because they're starting to get frustrated about this. Christian Wood missed on a rotation. Luka like looks right at the bench, looks right at Kid, and Kid kind of puts his head down and like kind of covers his face to try and like avoid eye contact. I'm doing all the body language doctor stuff. But that's the first time I've really seen them get frustrated outright on the court, and I'm watching it.
You're not going to get the DM now. He had 16 points off the bench, and we've talked about his role a lot. I like this role he's playing right now.
I didn't have anything.
21. I will say this: the center rotation, we saw two guys, with the addition of Justin Holiday, which I'm sure we'll talk about Holiday in the third segment here, but we've seen who didn't play, and JaVale McGee, Jaden Hardy. Yeah, Jaden did towards the end of the game, but like they were in the rotation before the All-Star break, or at least coming in having their spots there. JaVale was just like gone again. Yeah, so
didn't play.
Christian Wood was back kind of in that role. Holiday, took minutes from Hardy, and Frank still played 21, but still.
This Spurs team's a little smaller, so I wondered if they wanted to go with more like switching and didn't think they could play JaVale, especially since he struggles against those like bigger wing athletes too, like driving right at him. But yeah, that was something interesting to me. Coming up, let's talk about Justin Holiday. Jason Kidd had an interesting quote about Holiday that I think could give us some insight into what we saw tonight and then going forward, especially about Holiday's role. So we'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about the Nissan Electric Player of the Week. Nissan's Most Electric Player of the Week is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric Nissan Ariya. The Electric Player of the Week It's Justin Holiday. I'm making it Justin Holiday.
Oh,
5 of 6 from 3 in his Mavs debut. Who knew that he could be maybe the answer? I feel like he's going to get some time. We're going to talk about him in a minute. Jason Kidd said that he could potentially start for the Mavericks. Who would think that a buyout player would potentially start for the Mavericks? He's electric. I thought that his threes tonight, he was hitting open shots. He was getting open shots. He was playing in the defense well. His length made some problems. He caused a couple of steals here. And so I think that makes Justin Holiday the Nissan Aria player of the week. Go check out the 2023 Nissan Aria. Packs pin you to your seat power and premium intelligence. The EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com. All right, Isaac Harris, let's talk about Justin Holiday and these role players, what we saw from the role players and the rotation. You touched on it a little bit at the end of this last segment, but I want to touch on it a little bit more. Justin Holiday, 5 threes, 15 points, couple of steals, couple of rebounds, 21 minutes. That's a lot for a buyout guy. I was surprised in his first game for the Mavericks. What did you see from him?
I mean, he did exactly the thing you want him to do, and stand in the corner, hit shots. And he hit the shots and looked good. I mean, this is what he's known for. This is when you bring a guy off the street and get him for free to be another wing. I mean, I was so happy with it because it's like you need another body out there you can never have enough, 6'6", 6'7" guys that can hit some shots. And, I don't think you're putting him out there to be a Kawhi stopper, but it's another guy. He's a little bit bigger than Frank. He can shoot it better than Frank. So when you're starting to craft out no, I didn't forget about Frank.
People forget about Frank.
They do, though.
Neither did Jason Kidd. But I think when you start looking at the rotation, and let's say that starting unit, stays the same, then you look at the bench unit tonight, it's Tim, it's Christian Wood, it's Justin Holiday and Frank Ntilikina for the most part, 9-man rotation. I think that'll stay the same, except switch Maxey out with Frank. And then, whoever is still out there, Kyrie or Luka, is going to be running with, Tim and Holiday, Maxey and Christian Wood. And whether it's Kyrie or Luka, whoever. So, and that's a pretty dang good second unit.
Something I found interesting about just seeing Justin Holiday out there and even thinking about Maxey coming back, the lineups are so much more balanced. Like we've seen this whole season, basically, the Mavericks' best defensive players, Dorian, Josh, now Maxey, were all injured for long stretches of the season. Frank Ntilikina was just relegated to the bench for different stretches of the season. And JaVale McGee, we thought could have been a defensive presence. It just hasn't been playable and has been in and out. And the Mavericks didn't have much balance to their offensive players, defensive players lineups, right? It just felt like it was all leaning offense at certain times. And now you just add one more guy in Justin Holiday, and you can see the balance of those second units just a little bit more balanced. And you can see that. And then bringing Maxey back, that's going to balance it just a little bit more. And I thought that was one big positive from that. But yeah, Justin Holiday, he upgrades the Frank Ntilikina minutes by a lot, and makes Frank playable a little bit more too, because you can play those two guys, at least if you have another shooter out there. And if Christian Wood's going to be the center, you got a 5 that's a shooter. And I thought that those minutes were positive. I mean, Frank Ntilikina is plus 23 in this game. A lot of that was fourth quarter, but
yeah. We have 25. We're at the 25-minute mark, or
we got some time left.
All right, because I want to talk about Kyrie for a little bit.
Yeah, go
ahead. Kyrie tonight, he was a plus 34 in basically 30 minutes, and we talked about watching him play, and with Luka, and when one of them's off the floor and all of that. But man, just how he sets up the offense at times, and to have another guy that, when you think of Kyrie, think of all just the dumb, crazy shots. He makes everything look so easy and effortless when realistically it's, there's nobody else in the league that can, there's 5 players that can do what he can do at the point guard position, if that. But he just makes it look so easy. But it's also how he gets everybody involved. And it's like you have a guy like Luka who can, be the quarterback and hit these guys and all of that. And you think that if Luka goes off the floor, it's like, all right, now it's going to be like a downgrade in the playmaking or the downgrade in the creating and kicking out or in creating for others. And it honestly isn't, because Kyrie can just, and even the pace, I feel like Luka picked up the pace a little bit tonight, a little bit. And, just both of them, they had that, sequence. It was, 2 plays right off of each other at the end of I think it was in the first half. And, they were smiling, dabbing up and stuff going, off the court. It's like, all right, let's clip that. It's amazing. But no, I mean, you just, watching Kyrie play basketball, it's cool being on the other end of Kyrie, being wearing your team's jersey and watching him do his thing. It's a lot of fun. I think, plus minus is, we've talked about a lot, pros and cons of it, but being a plus 34 in 30 minutes is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I thought that, and just that he takes over those fourth quarters, right? Like he sets up for, it feels like we've seen Kyrie kind of have the same game for the last couple of games here. He sets up, he defers to others. Fourth quarter, mine. I'm taking this. Like it's like I thought about this tonight, because it's like it's like almost they've addressed it openly, or he's just adjusted to it and saying, all right, Luka, this is what they need.
You got the first, like, do your thing. Like, it's your show. You're one of the best, first quarter scorers in the league. Look at all the numbers, all this stuff. Do your thing. Let me play off you in the first. Fourth quarter is my quarter. Until like the very end, Luka's probably gonna have the ball in his hands. But it's like, I wonder if they've talked about that, of like, all right, like you take first, I'll take the fourth.
Well, first quarter is the one they would have to talk about. Fourth quarter comes natural because Luka's on the bench. Kyrie
he comes back like halfway.
Kyrie takes over at the beginning of those fourth quarters, and in this game it was done. Luka didn't even have to come into the fourth quarter, which is another big positive from this game. But yeah,
and that's going to be, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but that's going to be the next thing over these next 22 games of the close 21. Fourth quarters, or 21 games. And it's going to be how does Luka come in? Like, let's say it's a close game, but Kyrie's it's like the Minnesota game.
Yeah.
And he's doing his thing. And Luka comes in midway through the fourth, like he does. And it's like, all right, do they continue running everything through Kyrie or what? That's the stuff I want to watch.
And I think Luka's willing to defer, right? Like, I think Luka's willing to defer in that. Like, you see the way he's responded to him. You see the way he responds when Kyrie makes crazy shots. And I asked Luka, I said, what does Kyrie do to take over those fourth quarters? And he just, gave me a Luka answer, but he said he's just a clutch player. And like, Luka has that in his mind. Like, he's a star. He's a clutch player. He's a guy I respect. Right. And that goes a long way with Luka basketball wise. And if you can do that, and if you can take over, then Luka's more than willing to cede some shots. Luka took 16 shots in 30 minutes. When's the last time Luka took 16 shots in 30 minutes on a team, got 10 assists in this game?
6 3-point attempts.
Hey, that's under 10 or under 9. What was the number we kept tracking?
Hey, Nick, give me that rebounding battle.
Ooh, Mavs, 36 rebounds. Spurs, 45 rebounds. 10 offensive rebounds for the Spurs and only 3 offensive for the Mavs.
They lost the rebounding battle by 9, and they won by 20.
Well, the Mavs shot 52% from 3, and they took 36 free throws, which is another thing Kyrie brings, is he hits his free throws. He hit 4 free throws in the first quarter. He didn't have to hit any more. He didn't have to take any more. But
shout out to Luka, 11 for 12 in this game.
Great. It's just rubbing off on him in so many ways. So we saw a little bit from everybody. I'm curious though about the Justin Holiday starting. That was a quote that Jason Kidd said that really perked my ears up, that he could potentially start for this team.
If Justin Holiday starts, then that, if he starts, then that would what that tells me is they're entertaining some minutes that Kyrie and Luka are off the floor together. Because if he starts, that means you're probably moving Josh to the bench.
That's what I would think.
To try to bolster the bench a little bit more and have a little bit more
connectivity.
And versatility out there with Tim and Christian Wood and Maxey. And at that point, it's like, all right, you have Josh, who let's say he's the third ball handler, like Nico said, and it's like Josh, Tim, Maxey, Christian Wood, and then like Reggie's still out there, Holiday's still out there, something like that, and you're entertaining Luka but
I think that's interesting, but I don't think it's both of Luka and Kyrie off. I think that Josh Green is better as a secondary than he is as like a tertiary guy, and Justin Holiday's better as a spot up shooter. Like him and Reggie can just do what they did tonight and just hit threes. And I think Justin Holiday is a better spot up shooter than Josh Green, and that's the thing.
I think they need Josh. I think Josh is a better defender. I would trust. Yeah, I think I'd want Josh guarding like a Damian Lillard or something like that.
I mean, it's just something Jason Kidd said we're open to and we're looking at. So it's not even set or anything like that, but it is something interesting. But Jason Kidd in practice, he said the day before that Justin Holiday looked really good. And so, coming off of All-Star, and they said they played a really fast up-tempo practice, and Justin Holiday was really hanging with everybody. And Jason Kidd looks at stuff like that. Like, this is stuff that we don't see from the Mavericks, where, in practice, what if Markieff Morris and JaVale McGee looked really sluggish and couldn't keep up with everybody? Then all of a sudden Jason Kidd doesn't play him, right? Like, I think that's some of the things that we don't see. And Justin Holiday at least checked that box for Jason Kidd. He played him a ton in this game, and he liked what he saw, and we liked what we saw.
And Sunday's a big game. Lakers are trying to win every game. I mean, they have to win games to try to get into the play-in. And obviously Dallas doesn't want to fall back. So it should be a fun. I mean, we all know the Kyrie, LeBron and Luka, AD playing.
Some guy in the section next to me yelled, "We'll see you in LA, Kyrie." That's what he yelled when Kyrie was at the free throw line. He was a Spurs fan. He definitely was. He had Spurs gear on, but
it's already a big game when Lakers come to town, LeBron comes to town, and all of that. But both of them are trying to win games right now.
We'll have a post game for you, so make sure you subscribe, hang out with us. Go listen to Locked On NBA Game to Game. You can hear the breakdown and the reaction of all the games from every moment, every top performance from each of the hosts that cover those teams. Locked On NBA Game to Game on the Locked On NBA YouTube channel and the Locked On NBA feed. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!